you nearly died, right?
My mum got told that I had 3 weeks to live. I remember doing my competitions and coming off and collapsing. Anything I now face, I'm like, we've not died.
Wow.
And that just gives me that spring in my step just to keep going at everything.
Elizabeth McQuillan, networking and events expert, who's also a car finance broker.
Giving advice on how anyone can do what she's doing.
Yes, I am passionate about generating income because that is one of my key values, is being a great mum and being a great wife.
The biggest thing we need to do is build trust.
Yeah.
We need to build relationships.
Yeah.
What is your advice to people so that they can get more out of going to events?
Do you know what? I always say, have your ready. You absolutely go in to make connections. You're pushing yourself out your comfort zone, getting in a room that you don't know anybody. I mean, I've done that too. I've totally done that.
The question is, what is something that you're finding really challenging right now?
These last 2 weeks have been hell.
Liz, welcome to the show.
Hello.
It's great having you here. Two Northerners that are just we were just saying before, two Northerners that are just going to talk truth about business.
Exactly that. Do you know what? People are going to listen to it, especially from down south, and be like,
What
are
are they
those?
saying?
Yeah, what is the accent? It's so broad.
I just got a few swear words and that were it. That'll be it.
You'll bring out my northern twang, I can tell.
That's literally my task for today. I want to get it as northern as possible. I'm joking. What I do want to talk about is, at the time of recording, I mean, you're just incredible at events. Let's start there, because I spoke at your awards ceremony last year. And when it comes to the organisation, because I always think with events, it's not just the day, it's months beforehand.
God,
and when
yeah.
you've got speakers, you've got sponsors, you've got all these moving parts and all these people, the communication with them is so important.
It's a lot, yeah.
And I want to say here, you absolutely nailed that.
Oh, thank you, darling.
I've never worked with an event that was so on it in the run up to it. So thank you so much for that.
No, thank you.
However, I know that it's not like you've got a huge team. There's not like 30 of you doing it.
Nope.
And from my experience, at this point, you've got an event happening a week from now.
I have.
I've got a few weeks until the biggest event we've ever done.
Excited.
And it's one of the hardest things ever.
It is.
Give us the reality of running your own events.
I mean, it takes time. And do you know what? People that think, I'm just going to run an event, I always go, oh, darling, you can't just run an event, you know?
Oh, darling, come on, we need to talk.
We need a chat. Only because I think some people can see some of the flashy headlines of, oh, you can bring in this much with speaker sponsorships and you can bring this much in with your tickets. But the reality of it is, if you break down the amount of hours that task, that event takes, then actually it is a non-negotiable that you have to pull in the revenue, you know, right from the beginning. It's an enormous job. It really is. And to do it well is a different level, isn't it?
And that's the difference. And also, I don't know what you find. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. But for me, I find that getting people to get to events is harder than getting them to buy something online.
Yeah.
You know, we know with events, there's the extra time out of the business or, you know, time out of the day. They've got the extra expense of getting there. They might have accommodation.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a quick decision.
No.
So out of everything we sell in my business, the hardest thing to make money is events.
I agree.
And it's also the thing that's the hardest thing to get people over the line and get them to buy tickets. Have you found that it's necessarily, because a lot of people are talking about, well, with like the world of AI, people are craving in-person connection. And I agree with that. But I also think there's this idea of idealistically people would rather that. But in reality, they often pick the easy option. It's easier to just go on a Zoom or a webinar. What have you found between maybe selling tickets now to a few years ago? Is the trends, has it got harder? Is it easier? What's your thoughts?
What I would say is this, you know, I started doing my business events. I've done run events for years, like talking since I was 17, but business events, coming out of COVID, I did a post, okay, one post between Christmas and New Year, and just that DM, but, you know, purchasing tickets off me.
Oh,
it
my
was
God.
freaking mental,
Yeah.
right? It isn't like that now. Which, you know, it is what it is. I think there is a lot of events going on now.
Yeah.
But the reason why there are lots of events going on now is because it is the biggest lead generator for any business. And this is quite a lot of the time, I'm there shaking people going, you want to make some money? You need to get in the rooms. Because for me, I know when I've not been in a room for a couple of weeks because my lead gen has diminished.
Really?
Yeah. I'd like go in a room and I'm like, right, how much can we take from this? Not how much can we take from this, but how much can we generate? The lead gen. That is my biggest lead gen, because the whole thing about events is that, it does collapse time. It speeds up the know, like, trust. Therefore, people will buy from you quicker. Connection is everything. And I think, I can do a million posts online and sometimes it's crickets and you're like, geez, that was a really good post.
Yeah, spent ages doing that. Yeah.
But then you go in a room and you're like, love it.
I agree. And I think it's that old school cliche thing of like, the harder it is, the better the reward. Like, just because it's easier doesn't mean it's better. And I agree. There is no substitute at all for meeting up in person.
I agree.
I think as much as we can still do online and all that, I think when we come to the heart of business, it's about building relationships,
absolutely.
right? And there is no substitute to building relationships in the room. So what would you say to people that are like, oh, but it's extra money, it's extra time? How do we get them to understand the value of it?
I mean, look at me, I'm just shaking my head. I know. And I literally, it baffles me when people say, I can't do it. And I just go, the return on investment on being in a room, you will not get that doing anything else. And for me personally, in my business, we do offer opportunities for people to come online, to come on Zooms and stuff like that. I find that is a bit lower in my business, but at the events, that people do come. So actually, I find that pulling people on an online gig is harder for me than getting people in a room,
really?
interestingly. Yeah. And I think that might be my energy sort of thing, because I'd probably come alive in a room. Not saying that I'm dead on a Zoom, but
it's where you're best.
Yeah, the energy that you get from being with people in person is just ace.
I think you've probably got a reputation as well of like, if we go to a Liz event, we know it's going to be big. It's going to be every attention to detail. Like it is where you excel, and people know that, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what your brand's been built on. So then people think, oh, a Zoom won't be quite the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same as getting there in person. You said something a moment ago about, and I know you're like half joking, but you're like, what can we get out of this room? But what I love about that is it's about being intentional.
Yeah.
It's not just, I think people can get into this habit of going to events, enjoying it, having some fun, maybe learning a few things, but they're not actually saying, what's the ROI on this? Like, if I am a serious business owner and I am investing 1 or 2 days out of my business to be in this room, what is our objective? What are we getting out of this? What is your advice to people so that they can get more out of going to events?
Do you know what? I always say, have your KPIs ready in front of you, even if it's on your phone before you're walking in that room. And it isn't, I always say, don't just have a KPI of X amount of pounds, okay? KPI can be a mix of things, collaborating, getting on a podcast. It can be growing your audience. It's all those things. And I think that's what you have to do, because I agree with what you say, that it isn't just the ticket price. It is the getting there. It is the accommodation. It is the time out of business. So if you calculated that, it is a hefty amount.
Yep.
So you have to go in that room intentionally knowing what you want to get out of that room. And listen, it's not a case that I don't sit with my phone going, now that KPI, I have achieved that. Yeah. Okay, I must go and talk over here.
I can imagine you doing that.
Like kicking everybody up the arse going, have you done this? Have you done that?
Do it.
No, it's not. It does happen organically. But one of the funniest stories is at your event, this about Dan Meredith, right? Right. So let me give you some context. I'm sure you know this, but obviously the listeners might not.
Yeah.
Whilst I'm at your event, I came into your event with a clear objective. All right?
I could see that.
So when Dan Meredith is on the stage, he'd not even got off the stage, and I was like, right, you're on my stage, yes or no? He was like, I'm a yes man.
As in you DM'd him from the other side of the room.
He was on stage, I was DMing him. He went, meet me at the break. I said, okay, Dan. And then he went, I just love your ballsiness. I will be there and I will be on your stage.
And he was?
Yeah. So job done, like straight away.
Okay, let's look at the flip side.
Yes.
Are you too much? And what I mean, I don't mean you specifically, but like, is that going to work for everybody? Is there a line? Is there a balance? Because the biggest thing we need to do is build trust.
Yeah.
We need to build relationships.
Yeah.
And sometimes if people feel you're going into a room and you're DMing them and you're saying, I want you on my stage, are people going to then start to go, you're just in this for the money? Like, do you actually care about getting to know me first? What's your thoughts on that? How do we get that right?
So the Dan story, it wasn't just I've just met him and I've just DM'd him. We had been kind of toing and
Buy me a
froing
drink
for
first.
about
It's like, yeah.
months. He was like, are you ready for a call? I'm like, I'm not ready for a call yet. And then I was like,
So you were
listen,
familiar with each other online
yes.
for months?
It wasn't like I'm a random person who's now DM'd you.
Yeah.
Okay, really good question that. You absolutely go in to make connections. And a lot of the time you'll know people in that room. You know, sometimes you don't, and that's an experience on its own because you're pushing yourself out your comfort zone, getting in a room that you don't know anybody. I mean, I've done that too. I've totally done that. If you go in heart-centered and just be vibrant, and I know that's not everybody. Not everybody can be vibrant. I know that, but be true to you. I think that's the
key,
biggest
isn't it?
thing.
Yeah.
Be you.
Because it is who you are.
Yeah.
I remember saying to you when we was on a live together, I said when I first met you, I was like, bloody hell, she's a lot. And I was like, and my background, and I know you had a stage school and things like that back in the day, and we'll talk about that. But my background was being around a lot of theatre people, and I found a lot of fakery.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, ta-da, everything's amazing. And then
totally.
behind the scenes, they're falling apart. And I was like, whoa, Liz is got that vibe about
Yeah.
her. I was like, she's a lot. And the more I got to know you, I was like, shit, like, this is Liz.
Yeah.
Like, her heart beats for this stuff. She's
Yeah.
passionate. And I'm not saying you don't still have tough times, you do. And I'm not saying there isn't probably times where you question everything and you're just like, everyone can sod off.
Yeah.
But what I've really got to know about you, the more I've seen you, is you are the real deal.
Yeah.
You bloody care. You're passionate about everything and everyone, and you genuinely care about other people.
Yeah.
And you're like, life's for living. And I'm going to
totally.
show up with my best self.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get the most out of everything, but not just selfishly, like selflessly. Like, you know what you've got to bring to the table, right?
Totally. Going back to that whole thing about theatre and knowing that, I do that too. I look at certain people and I go, that's not really you.
Yeah.
That's not, and do you know what? Going back to me being 17, I'll tell you this story. I was a magician's assistant. Of course I was.
So see that.
But I used to... This one occasion, I'd left my heels on, so I'd got in my box. I'd done my bit there. They kind of pop me in two and do whatever. I'd left my heels on, so I was bigger than what I should have been. And he was trying to ram this guillotine in me. I was bleeding, and he was like saying, "Oh, fucking get it in," like.
Oh my God.
I was like, and I came out and I did the whole bleeding hand, and he took the mic and he threw the mic, and I was like, yeah, you give it that you are, the tits and teeth of showbiz and all that, but really you're just a dickhead. Yeah, so that was my
That's
sort of
awful.
Yeah, he threw the mic. I was like, do you know what? I left on that day because I was traveling. I was doing all the Haven holiday camps, and I was traveling, and yeah, I just thought, I don't need this. You've been horrible. I made one little mistake, and you've just shown your true colours. And so I think, with people that are like me, and we're happy, and we're go get, it actually is the real freaking deal. You know. Yes, I am passionate about impact. I am passionate about generating income because, with that wealth, with that income, it comes freedom, comes being the best mom and the best husband that I can be. And, I know we will be talking about this later, but that is one of my key values, is being a great mom and being a great wife, top and bottom of it. And there are times when, financially I support the family, like, quite a lot, like they all say sometimes it's hubby that, sometimes I'm like, babe, you need to step down, I need to support everybody. And that's no big ask. So when people think, you're too much, it's this, it's that, I just think, do you know what? I've got a job to do here. I've got a family to provide for. And that's why I do it. And that is my why. It's just how life pans out.
Excuse me, right, I've got an important question that I need to ask you. No, not the guest, you, the listener. Have you bought your ticket to Business Mastery Live yet? If you're not clear, this is our biggest event ever. Not only in capacity, we're going to have about 500 business owners, entrepreneurs, content creators in the room. Not only in the calibre of speakers, we've got people like Daniel flipping Priestley speaking on stage and Scott Thomas, but also because it's our first ever 2-day business event. It's happening on Monday the 13th and Tuesday the 14th of April. And my advice is this. In a 2026 world, it's so easy to just do things online, but actually just because it's easy doesn't mean it's the best. In my opinion, as somebody who takes visibility very, very seriously, there is no substitute for building relationships in the room. I know events cost more money, they take more time, energy and effort, but they really are, I believe, worth the reward. And also, you can rest assured we are throwing everything we flipping can into making sure this is going to be one of the best business events of this year. And not only that, I believe passionately that the calibre of events that we see in London and in America and all them fancy places should be happening right here in the north of England. And if you believe the same and you want to support us, we'd massively appreciate you. But will you do me a favour and buy your tickets now? Because I'm not going to lie, it's stressful with you leaving it till last minute. So please, stop just listening to this podcast, give it a pause, click the link below the show notes, buy your ticket, and then I can sleep tonight. And I'd appreciate it. Have you done it? If you've done it, now we'll go back to the interview. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
So at the time of recording last night, I wrote a status.
Yeah.
And you commented going, ask me about this, I've got lots to say. So my status was about it was along the lines of saying, do many people actually hustle to the level they need to get the results they want? Because I think a lot of people think they're like working really hard.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll talk about openly on this show is I do sometimes think, well, I'm in a very lucky position in that I don't have children and obviously I want children, so it's also unlucky because I'd like to be a dad. But I think a lot of my listeners, a lot of people that I work with are juggling these different things. And there's also people starting businesses that also have a full-time job and they've got all these responsibilities. But the reality is what I've seen time and time again is the people who succeed at the highest levels just work their ass off for it.
I know.
What's your honest stance on that?
So I'd have said 5 years ago, that was me. Like literally, even 10 years ago, being successful and being financially independent and financially stable was everything.
Really?
And I literally worked as a teacher and I had my theatre skills. You know, I remember every pregnancy that I've ever had, I've birthed a business because I've gone,
Not enough having a kid. You've also got to have another business.
You have a bit of time off, don't you? So it's like, what can I do with this time off? I'll just launch a business.
I love it. It's brilliant.
But getting into my 40s, I'm going to be really, really honest. Things have changed. Like, I used to hunt the pounds, I did. And I think having a taste of, some real nice financial success, what I learned was it didn't feel any different. I thought I would feel something amazing. And it just felt the same. And I was like, okay, so I've been hunting this feeling that feels the same. So why am I hunting and why am I hustling and why am I working so hard and putting everything before the real people in my life that are really important to me? And it's the last 3 years, just me getting into my 40s, things have changed and I am happy where I'm at. I am not hunting the triple bloody 8-figure or whatever. It's not for me anymore, that, because I am happy. And that's what I look at when I go home. I am a mom to two girls who are so different. And I have the most beautiful husband that you could ever imagine. Like, I count my lucky stars. I always say that. I counted my lucky stars when I found him because he's an angel gifted to me from heaven. He really is.
I think there's so much in that because I think it's knowing what you want from life, but it's
Definitely.
also going deeper on the why. So if you did want multi-8 figures, like that's fine.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
And how are you going to do that? Because it's how you make it that will determine the experience. And we all know life is not about outcomes, it's about the process.
Yes,
like it's what
exactly
we're living,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I think what you've shared there is quite common. And it's usually we work our absolute bloody arse off to get to an outcome to then realise, okay, there might be some things that are better, but overall I still feel like me. This is what I did years ago when I did a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was always like, if I had that physique, like what you see on like Men's Health magazines, that'll be the moment I'm so confident and I'm like, I've made it, I'm the man. And I remember just thinking, I don't feel any different.
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing the internal work, Doesn't matter really what you look like on the outside. And it was similar with, I remember the first month in my coaching business that I did a £10,000 month. You know, that's like the goal for so many people. Get to 10K months. And I also remember feeling the most loneliest I'd ever felt that month. I think there's an element of you need to really experience that stuff to then get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I think until you've had the money, it's very easy to say, oh, it's not all about the money and 8 figures. It's like, you know, and I think we can put that perspective on it now. And also that kind of thing of like work-life balance, hustle. I think one thing I really want to get across is when I speak to people like you've never got to where you've got without that absolute obsession.
Exactly that.
Talk to me about that, because it's one thing to be able to say now on reflection, I don't need to be like that. And that's great. But do you think you could have got to where you've got to today without it?
No, and I think you'll know as well, being a business mentor, you know the ones that are going to succeed, and they are the ones that gets their blinkers on and are hyper-focused. And they are a certain type of person. Like Phil is not hyper-focused. And we say, I'm the hare and he's the tortoise. And he will plod, and, you know, he's steady Eddie. I mean, he's been driving dead slow on the way here. I'm like, Phil, come on. He's like,
I can imagine the dynamic.
We don't want to get a ticket, darling. I'm like, oh, wow.
But we don't want to be late.
Don't do late.
Do whatever you need to.
I was going to say, move over, I'm going to drive. So, yeah, I think, and this is that whole thing, like, let's touch on the whole thing of neurospasticity, being like ADHD, which I clearly am, but I hate that term because it's like a negative connotation of what ADHD is, but actually what it is, it's a type of brain that has the power to hyper-focus and take the risks and run at such speed far further and far faster than the
typical?
Neurotypical. And that's why we make good business, good entrepreneurs, good founders, good business people, because we have that speed and that motivation. And there are times now that I kind of can relax. But I tell you what, when there's a vent on, you can't relax, can you, love?
Oh, no. I haven't slept in weeks.
I woke up at 1:30 this morning, like literally with a to-do list, thinking about, right, we need to do that. But I was like, seriously, 1:30? Is this what you're doing at 1:30?
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, okay.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing I really want to get across to people is it all stems from self-awareness. Yeah. Like, what are your strengths? What do you want? Why do you want it? And also something I talk about is what season are you in? So you've just said there now, generally now in this stage of life, there's other things that matter more than just chasing the next financial win. And equally, I still love events. It's still my thing. It's still what I do. And when we're putting an event on, I'm hyper-focused again, right? I still have to do that. So I think that's the thing I think people really need to take away from like this kind of conversation is it all stems from what are you chasing? Why do you want it? And what does it actually take to achieve it? Because I think from my experience, I don't know if you've had similar, quite often if I set a target, I probably need to set a target higher just to hit that target. Like I'm probably going to have to work so much harder, do so much more to just hit that target.
Yeah.
And I think this is what happens for a lot of people is they don't realize what it actually takes. And I think part of the reason, this is why I think these conversations are important, is because we're all being sold by the gurus online.
Yeah.
You can like make money while you're on a beach and sleep and all this kind of stuff. And maybe one day you can, but not for a lot of hard work first and foremost, right?
And the thing is as well, the tough thing is that the playing field that we are all in changes so bloody quick. Right. So when you think you've mastered something, then it's like, hang on a minute, no, it's this way now. So you're like, pivot.
You've got to adapt.
And and it's you can never actually just go, oh, I am a success, because you've got somebody then jumping over you, treading on you with the stilettos, going, ha ha, come and catch me now. And you're like, oh, here we go again. So yeah, I mean, back in the day, you could have one business and you could be steady Eddie and there'd be nothing. But now AI, the whole digital, playing field, it's just so fast pacing that we have to stay at. I'm 43 and there's times where I think, don't tell me I'm an has-been, I'm a bastard. But then you see the younger ones, like sometimes I see you and I'm like, yes, God, he's going this way and he's going that way, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm all right.
Yeah. It's all good. Get me a cup of tea.
Coffee drinker, clearly.
Take us back to those earlier days then. So as you say now, there's been an evolution and you want to work in a slightly different way, and you've had, I mean, I believe like quite early on in one of your business, you were having 100k months and things like that.
The car business was mental. I was a teacher for 14 years.
Okay. 14 years as a teacher. Tell us about that journey to now.
I mean, listen, I don't think I was made to be a teacher in a school. I got done quite a lot.
What were you getting done for?
Do you know what? Leading from heart and doing things that...
okay. Not following the rules.
Exactly that.
Right, okay. yeah. Good, but this isn't right. Yes, but it's the rules, Liz. We're in a school.
I'm like, but she's really upset and I need to go and support her. Well, you're not... I'm like, you what?
Oh, okay, right.
And I think, again, probably a lot. I was probably a lot in that industry, you know. I always say the star was never going to fit in the square box, right? But... But I did as I was told, because I was quite a good girl in that my mum said, you know, get yourself your qualifications, go to university, get a degree, and then go and be a teacher because you'll have a steady life and, you know, you can have a nice house and a car and stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, well, okay, I'll do that, right? And then I quickly realised that, this isn't actually, you know what, it isn't target driven. It isn't, so it was just like, I can just coast. And that's okay. So I got in a coasting zone. Probably for a good few years, I was coasting. I was at the top of my pay rank.
Okay.
I couldn't get any higher. And I didn't have to do much to just get paid. And then I thought, I am not fulfilled. No. Like, I am literally not fulfilled. And that was when, you know, the theatre schools came about. And, you know, we went from 1 to 2 in 12 months. Then we were franchising it. And then we had a casting and modelling agency.
Okay, how quick was that then? From 1 to 2 to franchising... modelling age. What's the time frame we're talking?
Right. So, you know, we said that I always when I'm birthing a baby, I birth a business. Right. So I had my maternity leave. So I was like, oh my God, let's birth the business. So this is when the theatre school came. Mm-hmm. I think we launched in the April. We got the first school to full capacity. In the September, I launched the second school, got that to full capacity. I had a business partner who was very much like Phil, so the steady Eddie. She was like, what the fuck are you doing to me? What the fuck are you doing? I was like, listen, I'll go out front and I'll just go, you just clean up at the back. Yeah, there's 2 of us. Literally like that. And then we had the third one, and then we had a franchise, and then we brought in the casting and modelling agency. So that did span 10 years in the end. It was 10 years there, and then I hung my dancing shoes up, if you will.
But hang on, April to September, 2 schools at capacity.
Yeah.
There'll be people... that start schools and they've been going years and they're not at capacity.
I know.
What were you doing different?
Do you know what was great back then? Facebook was your friend.
Okay.
Literally, you do a post and everybody saw it.
So there was a timing element to
Absolutely that. And I was just...
And you'd have been relentless, I imagine.
I was just going to say, hyper-focused.
Okay.
I was out there. I think I've always had that entrepreneur in me, so I would be pulling in, you know, key people that I knew would have a good audience. You come and open it, and you come and do this. And it was just pulling in all those marketing strategies that, do you know what? Nobody taught me, but I just knew that this would work. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, being resilient, just being on any lead that came in. We were nurturing, get them in. We knew the minute that they felt us, the energy, the people that we attracted, they'd be like, I need a part of this. So yeah, it worked.
Was that just like a period of your life where it was just everything was working and you were working hard, but it was working, right? Or was there any difficult times in that period?
No, I would say the only business difficult period that we've had, obviously there's been times where COVID and stuff like that, but where I'm at now with Flamingo Business, again, same happened, where literally did a post, people were like, I had a membership full, 100 plus people paying, I think it was £67 at the time, and that wasn't for any of the events, that was just literally, honestly, it was mental. And then it went, I was like, wow, okay, what's gone wrong here? And that hurt, that really hurt. And it probably took me a good 2 years to kind of come out the other end and be like, do you know what? And that weren't meant to be. Let's pivot and just try something different, you know?
Talk to us about that time. What happened?
How do I politically play? Oh, God. I don't know. Right. Processing this. was back when networking was literally just your traditional networking. Okay, so you know the sorts of rooms, and I knew that networking was going to help grow my business. Funnily enough, when I was doing the theatre schools, I never did networking. Nothing, never. I was a bit scared of it, actually. Anyway, this was a networking business, and it was birthed off the back of COVID. So in COVID, we all needed community, didn't we? I built a community, and it was all to do with the car finance. So it wasn't to do with business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it grew quite quick. And I remember speaking to my sister at the time. She was going, I am opening up a Facebook group, because she was aesthetics, and I'm going to do this and do that. And I was like, what can I do with car finance?
Okay.
But I did. I opened one, and I created a community, and it grew and grew and grew. So when I then pivoted and said, now I'm going to do, face-to-face networking, it was just like, yes. But what happened? Every man and his dog started doing the same.
Right.
So it was like, this is easy to replicate. This business is so easy to replicate. And listen, I'd gone with the whole franchise model of that. I don't know if you know about that, but back in the day, I launched the franchise model. We got 2 in straight away. Everything was going great. And then I thought, this isn't right, because so many people are doing this. Why would somebody come and buy my franchise? It was too many other people were doing it. And do you know why? Because it's obvious to do this in any business, because a success of a business is having a community that really respects you. So therefore, why not any business have that community?
Right.
Yeah. So I sort of slowly saw it all kind of, and they were going off to cheaper, alternatives. That is fine. I get it. And then there was a few little chinks of people, and I just thought, I can't take this anymore. I'm just going to pivot and just go a little bit higher ticket. Less is okay, because at least I've got a different, I've probably grown. You outgrow things. You outgrow stages of business and things, don't you? And I think that's what I did. Listen, there were some heartbreaks along the way, losing some really dear friends along the way. Never really told why. But yeah, you just have to crack on.
Is it something you're happy to speak about?
No, I don't want to bring anybody in. It's probably yeah. You just some really close, my core, who were the core at the time. One, and then
Things happened.
Yeah,
And they do, and it's because people are evolving. You go through tough periods in business, and that's when people show their true colours, or people pivot, people want different things. And I think this is the reality of doing this. And I think what I try and do with this show is talk about this, rather than it just being, I think we're so tired of seeing people online going, everything's amazing, I'm crushing it. And everybody you speak to goes through really, really shit times.
they do.
And it's hard. And I think one of the things that makes it easier is hearing other people say, that's normal, it's okay, this is my experience, let's talk about yours. What did you learn from that period?
Okay, so people that you meet in your business life, they can be the best thing since sliced bread. They can. But sometimes you've got to see it through an lens of, are they my real good friend because they benefit from being my real good friend?
Yeah.
Or are they just genuinely gonna be there when shit hits the fan? And I feel that is what I went through.
Wow.
Like when things were going a little bit not all rosy, it was kind of, we need to jump ship here, because I'm not, in my opinion, wasn't possibly getting what they wanted in the end. And I think that's the thing. I think you always need your real friends that are nothing to do with your business,
I agree.
don't you?
Yeah.
They are. I mean, you can have a row with them. I have a row with a few of my friends now and then, and that's
Yeah.
fine. They'll still come back and give you a cuddle, and I'll go, I'm so sorry, I'm a dick. I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, just tell me to shut up. And they'll be like, we know what you're like, Liz. And I'm like, but I always come from a place of love. So I'm that friend you'll come and I'll go, well, I'll try and fix. And if you don't, I'll be like, well, I told you, and they'll go, I know, but I'm just a human and I've got a heart. And I'll go, okay, but I'll always tell you the truth. Is that okay? And they're like, that's why we come to you for the truth.
Yeah.
But likewise.
That's me in all my friendships. I'm the truth person.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my best mates, he says when he's going through shit and he just wants somebody to just be like, put an arm around him. He goes to another friend.
Yeah.
When he's ready for the truth, like, what do I need to do
Yeah.
to change it? He comes to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like being that person that
Yeah,
says,
same, yeah.
this is what we need to fix. If you can do X, Y, Z, we're going to fix this.
Yeah.
But you need to be ready to fix it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it. I think in business, and you just have to, and this is what I would say to anybody, just be aware that these friendships that you make in business, yes, they can feel incredible, they can feel amazing, but actually, they're not 100% as real as what your real friends are that you've known for years and that don't like you because of what they can gain from being in your circle.
Right.
That's really important.
I'm just going to take a pause a minute because I need to tell you about literally one of my favourite people in the business space ever. Jo Simpson. A lot of you who listen to the show may already be aware of Jo, but you probably don't know just how incredible she is. Jo is the founder of JK Business Services and also the profitable CEO. Now, I just knew Jo as this really lovely person who is great at networking, connecting you to people, and opening doors for other business owners. But she's also so much more than that. For over 24 years, Jo has been running a successful accountancy and bookkeeping practice, supporting ambitious business owners across the UK. Her specialist accounting team works primarily with online, retail, and service providers. So they truly understand how modern day entrepreneurs operate, including things like digital launches through to creating recurring revenue in your business. But Jo does not just focus on compliance. She helps business owners think like CEOs so that they can actually increase profitability, smooth out that cash flow, and have a business that actually pays them well. If you've ever wondered how much you should actually be earning in your business to fund the lifestyle that you want, cover all your taxes, and create sustainable profit, you're in luck, my friend, because Jo has actually created a completely free tool to help you work that out right now, this second, and it's really exciting to do it. Her target income calculator will show you exactly what your revenue needs to be right now to actually get that take-home income that you want. But more than that, when you download it today, you'll also receive her Profit First Manager tool, also completely for free. What that's going to help you do is create a smarter cash flow system right now. So head to the link below and enter the code SUCCESSCHOOL, all one word in uppercase, to go and download your free copy right now and start taking control of your numbers like a true CEO. You will not regret it, and either way, you just need to go and connect with Jo. She's blooming amazing and she will change your business and your life. So just go do it. Right, there we go. Back to the episode.
So you touched upon there building this community for the car brokerage side. Do you want to just tell us about how that business was birthed and what that journey was like?
Yeah, so it was an accidental career completely, but it was just upon meeting Phil. He had a car dealership, and he was kind of wanting to wind down having the cars. And back then, you know, brokers had gone more widespread across the UK. You could finance a car from any broker and then purchase a car from a dealership. You didn't have to get the finance from the dealership like you used to back in the day. So he was like, I've seen that you're a bit fucking crazy when it comes to building businesses. So he's like, do you want to be my business partner? And I was like, yeah, let's do it, darling. I knew nothing about car finance. I was that girl that would like totter into BMW and be like, I think I need a new car. And they'd be like, okay, they wouldn't go through rates with me. They wouldn't go through anything. They'd just say, how much can you afford? And I'd go, that much. So they'd put it up a bit anyway, and they'd be like, here we go. And I was like, is this a good deal? I didn't know whether I was getting a good deal. It was never explained to me. So that was my pain to power thing where I was like, listen, I'm going to demystify all the jargon and I'm going to empower women to make an independent financial decision when it comes to purchasing a car. And you know, that's what I've been doing. But yeah, we only fell into that with hubby saying, come on board with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just jumped in.
Because he knew that I was that road runner that he would pick up and go, there we go, beep, beep. And I'd go, and I did. And at that point, Phil actually, this was in COVID. Phil went off doing something else. Like, in the construction.
Right, okay.
And he's like, oh, you do car finance, love, and I'm going to do construction. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know the first thing. And he'd say, just cut, because we had to build our panel of lenders. When you're a broker, you have your own FCA license, but you have to build your panel. You don't say, I'm a broker, now I've got all these people on my that I can say. No, you have to build your panel. So I used to get on the phone to these big banks, like these big names, and I'd be like, hello, we're looking to partner with a really great, they'd be like, and how many leads can you how much business can you provide?
Yep.
I'd be like,
A lot.
how much do you need us to? Yeah, it was literally like, and all, like when you go into an industry, they've got like key terminology and things like that they'd say, how many props can you send to us, which is proposals? Well, I was thinking, coming from theatre, I'm like, what have we got?
Getting
Have we
a
got
hat out.
Yeah. I'm like, what does he mean, props? And Phil had just literally pushed me, talk about being out of my comfort zone.
Wow.
And I would just literally say to these men, they're always men, I would say, why don't you come and meet us? Why don't you come and meet me? Come, because we had an office. Come to the office. And I knew I could schmooze the hell out of him.
Yeah.
I'd get them a bacon butty. I'd get them the coffee and come and sit down. And they'd be like, yeah, we're going to give you a go, knowing that we're literally coming from nothing. But they gave us a go. And, we're still here now, sort of 6 years later. So, yeah, did that answer that question? I feel like I might have gone off on one.
No, I love it, because what I take out of that as well, which I think is an important point, is people buy into people.
Yeah.
They buy your energy, your determination, your passion, and anybody who meets you for 3 seconds gets all of that immediately thrown at them like, yes, she's serious. But I think it's, when we talk about like skill sets, and I think it's a very real one for people to reflect on, is like, how do I show up in a room? Do I show up with conviction, even if I'm out of my comfort zone?
Yeah.
Even if I'm like, oh my God, as long as I've got passion, good energy, and I'm willing to do the best I can, people will take a bet on you, and people will buy from
I
you. People
agree.
want to work with you
because
they want to buy that kind of energy and conviction, right?
They do. And I think, we're very much similar in that we come with smiles, with energy, and with passion. But I know that you're probably the same as me. Some days it is a chore. It is a chore. And like, you feel so nervous. Like, even me when I go live, honestly, I have to have an internal chat with myself. Like, come on, Liz, get on there.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, people probably won't think that.
I know. Honestly.
I'm the same. When I'm on stage, I get really nervous a lot of the time.
Yeah, I do. Oh, you absolutely. And do you know what? I think that just shows that we care.
Yeah, it is that.
Yeah.
We want to do a good job. I when I recently spoke at an event, I was like, I just know that I've got the ability to be brilliant and really impact everyone.
yeah.
But I might trip over, or I might forget what I'm saying, and I might miss an important point.
Yeah.
And it's that makes me nervous. It's like, I just want to do the best I can.
Exactly that. And, I've done that where I've stood on stage and I've absolutely messed it up big time. And it was one where I'd made quite a big, heavy investment, and I felt like crap. I came off, I had to take myself to my room for an hour, and I just cried, and I was like, oh my God, I've invested money, I've invested time, I've left my baby, and I didn't even get to the last slide,
Oh no.
I was like, wow. But
How would you bounce back from that? Because a lot of people would just never go on stage again. They'd be like, I'm terrible, I hate this, I don't want to do it. How do you bounce back and keep going again?
I literally sat in that room and visualized not being with my baby, not being with my husband, everything else that surrounded me, being in that room on my own. As we do, we spend nights in hotel rooms on our own. And I thought, I'll be damned if I ain't getting a hug in return on this. Like, literally, I am going to make the most of this experience, even if it kills me. And I picked myself up, I brushed myself off, and it was almost like that, knowing that it was literally because I'd left Loretta, she was only little, and I thought, I cannot walk away from this, having made impact in that room and, done the job that I've come here set out to do. Picked myself up, dusted myself out, walked in that room and thought, okay, you might not have seen the slides that I wanted you to. I might not have got across the teach that I wanted to, but you're going to feel my energy.
That's
and
huge.
I'm just going to say, hey, you okay? Hey, and I'm just going to introduce myself to everybody. And that's what I did. I just worked the room like a freaking Trojan, because I just knew failing at this was just not an option. I just had to keep going for my babies.
Where does that resilience, determination come from? I know you had a horrible experience when you was 11 where you nearly died, right? Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah. It is quite a few years ago now. But it was a tough whole time. And, you know, it's funny because I get upset when my mum talks to me about it, because as a mum, I just think, my God, Mum, what you went through, because I was going through it, and you kind of go through the motions, you know, being told that my mum got told that I had 3 weeks to live. Like she only retold me this the other day. She said about when you're in a room and the doctors are telling you some news, and she said you can't take anything on, you just take this one bit of news and you can't hear anything else. And she said that was exactly the same when we got told it's 3 weeks. She was like, I couldn't hear anything else. And then she would come back, and it was the rarest. It wasn't leukemia, it wasn't cancer. It was the rarest blood disorder where actually your bone marrow, my bone marrow is where all your blood cells are created. Well, sometimes the white blood cells go, or the red blood cells go, or the platelets. Well, mine just stopped making all of them. So, you know, your red blood cells that give you all your energy, that had gone. My platelets, so I wasn't clotting blood. I would have nosebleeds that lasted like 2-3 hours in the night. I'd pick up, you know, infections really easy. And back in those days, I was, you know, a dancer. I was doing all my dancing and stuff. And I remember doing my competitions and coming off and collapsing. And I remember my mum going, I'm not paying all this money for you not to do your best. I'm like, I'm just dying here, Mum. I'm literally just dying. But yeah, it was really tough. And what I take from this, though, this whole experience, is that when you face death, there is nothing worse than that. Like, so anything I now face, I'm like, and I just say it in my head, well, you've not died. Well, you've not died. Well, you've not died. And that just gives me that spring in my step just to keep going at everything.
Wow.
I know.
So, I mean, were you told you've got weeks to live? How was it for you?
I was only told after, probably about a year after. But I did have the whole chemotherapy where the hair fell out. I did have many people visiting me who were just crying. And I'd be like, Mommy, why is everybody crying when they come to see me? Like, yeah. My school teacher, my head teacher, you know, the community just came together so beautifully. Mum would be crying. I'd be, why are you crying, Mummy? It was a lot of that. Why is everybody crying? Because
what did you think?
I just thought I was poorly, but I don't think I realised the severity of it.
Yeah.
And basically, it was, unless you have an immediate donor in the family, a bone marrow donor, she has 3 weeks to live. But I'm here.
What was the next step like?
Well, all the family had to be tested to see if they were a compatible donor. And my big sister was a perfect match. Nobody else was, but she was a perfect match.
Oh my God.
I know. So my big sis saved my life.
Wow.
Top and bottom of it.
I feel like I need a moment to process this, because I obviously that's a huge thing to even just start to think about. And then when we bring it forward to your freaking amazing work ethic and resilience and energy and passion, all the stuff that we've covered today, how much of that do you think stems from that experience?
I believe it all stems from that, honestly. And I've done a lot of processing since. I've done trauma work as well on it. And yeah, honestly, I just think back from, and everything is when shit hits the fan, when things go wrong, when I just think, you're not dead. And it is that extreme. You are not dead. You can keep going. You have faced death. You can keep going. And life is for living. Life is for living, and live every day as though it is your last. Like that is it. You know, give everything 110%, because you don't know when it's going to end, right?
I'm feeling inspired. I'm just like, I need to. But I do think, obviously, I mean, thank you for sharing that, because that is unbelievable to even begin to imagine what you went through. One thing I do think about a lot is how short life is.
Yeah.
It's something that I always say, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I think about dying a lot. And I think about, and I'm constantly, I don't know if anyone else does this or if I'm completely weird, but I'm constantly thinking, if I live to the average life, how many years do I have left? If I'm lucky, but it could be less. Like, I think about that, maybe in an unhealthy way on some level, but it really drives me forward.
Yeah.
It really makes me just think like, and you know, when we talk about gratitude, I sometimes really do just sit and think, oh my God, I get to be alive today again. I get another day.
I know.
And I imagine you really feel that.
Honestly, gratitude. And I know that some people think it's a little bit wishy-washy. It isn't. It's great. And I think when you are successful, part of why you are successful is because you can take a negative and turn it into a positive, can't you?
Right.
Like, literally, we've been doing this all week because sadly Phil's dad has passed and it's been a tough old 3 weeks. And I've just been trying to mentor the whole family into, okay, we feel shit today, but at least we've got this, or at least we've got each other. And it's just taking everybody's negative and be like, yeah, but what about this? This is what we've got to be grateful for, right?
Do you think that's a skill set that you have to develop?
I do.
Because
Do
it
you?
doesn't, I think we're all on a spectrum where some people naturally see the positives more than others. I do think there's an element where it's like a personality trait to some degree.
Yeah.
But I do
Yeah, I
also
agree.
think it's like a skill set in which a lot of us that are on these business development journeys, a lot of it stems from self-development
Yeah, I
journeys.
agree.
And it starts from going like, how do I be the best version of myself? And for a lot of us, the reason we get into that is because we're not happy with ourselves.
Yeah.
And I used to be naturally really negative. I was always ambitious.
Really?
I was always hardworking, but I would be like frustrated all the time if things didn't go well.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it for me, when I started like working with like doing the Tony Robbins stuff and learning
Yeah.
all the self-development, a lot of it was because I don't naturally see the positives. I don't naturally jump to solutions. I do dwell on problems.
Yeah.
But now I am so much better at quickly just going, okay, we've been through shit before. What's the solution?
Yeah.
But it's something I had to learn. Is
Yeah.
that similar for you?
Do you know what? I started learning this in my adulthood when my eldest daughter's dad left us. I was heartbroken.
This is when you was 30, right?
Yeah. Oh, heartbroken.
And you already had the theatre school?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
running that.
Yeah. I was working 5 days a week as a teacher, and then I was running the theatre schools.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. So when he left, oh my God, heartbreak upon heartbreak. It was just.
How long had you been together?
We've been together about 4 years, I think it was. We'd had Ruby. He left before she was 3. Like, that was big. I was like, oh, how can you do that to a little girl? You know, it was horrendous. But that's when I got into like The Secret.
Right.
That's when I read Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, Susan Jefferson. And that's when I became obsessed with gratitude and positivity, and not necessarily, you know, manifestation, but yeah, it was all about putting it out and bring it in. And, you know, my sister got into it as well with me. And it was funny, we'd analyse Mum, she's a bit of a no-nego, and we'd be like, no, let's switch that up, Mum. Let's think about this. And she's like, I'm too old for that now. I'm too old for that.
Love it.
But yeah, and it's like a skill. You have to train that part of your brain, don't you?
Right.
But it does help. Bloody hell, does it help you get through those dark days?
I think there's a real theme, and not just with you, but I think it's common with a lot of successful people where we go through these huge life adversities.
Yeah.
And it really is, when you see it play out, it's the difference between making or breaking somebody.
Yeah.
And the thing I want people to take from that is you do have the ability to take those hardest, most darkest, difficult moments and flip it. And I think that's what you've, from what I hear, become a master at, is you've been through some real shit. And you've decided, you've made the choice that it might be really frigging hard. And then being a single mum with these businesses and a full-time job and all that, you were like, I'm going to find the gratitude. I'm going to find the solutions, and it's going to make me.
Yeah.
That's not easy,
No.
but it is possible, right?
It absolutely is. And I think I went on a mission of being financially independent because I didn't want anybody ever to pull the rug from under me. And, you know, I just wanted to be able to support myself, my kid. You know, at the time we just had one. And it was just a non-negotiable. It was like paying into power. I am not going backwards in life. I'm going to sit in this sadness temporarily, but I'm going to train myself and dig myself out of this and push further forward than I ever was before the heartbreak.
Yeah.
And then I went through a 10-year of proving myself to everybody and everything that I can be financially independent. And it was only just more recently that I thought, do I have to keep proving?
No,
No.
you don't.
No.
And I think that tenacity, that I guess there's an element of pain and fear driving it.
Yeah.
It will get you so far,
Yeah.
but it's not sustainable long term, and
No.
it's certainly not healthy.
No.
So I know you've touched upon it, but what's the change now? Like, now you've done that, you've proved it.
Yeah.
Because with that, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess 2 questions. How have you managed that pressure for so many years, and how are you now evolving so you remove some of that pressure?
I just think now, like right now in my head, I can visualize a circle in quadrants, yeah, quarter. And I always think, rather, in the past, it's been a whole of business.
Right.
Now it's like, listen, a quarter, maybe a little bit more business, but then it's also got to be family, you know, it's got to be hobby, it's got to be friends, you know, you can't, if you put all your eggs in one basket, you're super duper vulnerable.
Right.
So I think if you can look at life as, you know, as a holistic view of what's happiness, what makes me happy, and don't get me wrong, work does make me happy, like business does, it is like a bit of an addiction, it's your hobby, it's your everything, but equally you need that level of a wholeness amongst it all, and that is what's really important to me as I've got older.
And I think as well, like, not beating yourself up when you don't get it perfect, because life's going to
Yeah.
happen. You might have this perfect idea of these perfect quarters, but we know things happen, and that's okay too, right?
For sure, you know, and also understanding that, and this is what Phil taught me when it was really good and then it died a little bit. He was like, listen, you can't keep 100% people, 100% of the people 100% happy at 100% of the time. You are
Ever.
Yeah, ever.
Ever.
So stop trying to achieve that.
Yeah.
Stop getting upset when people leave your membership, or stop getting upset when you've heard them say that you're and he says, I'm Marmite. People will fucking love you, or people will be like, not for me. But that's okay. And I think as you get older, you realize, and if people are like, I'm like, that's okay. We were never meant to connect, collaborate, work together, whatever. And that's the beauty of being in a room. It's not just about who you can connect, collaborate with. It's also speeding up that process of, okay, they're not for me.
And
that's
okay.
fine. And that's okay. Yeah.
So we all know that everybody is talking about AI right now, and we all know it's not going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, it's very much here to stay, not just in our lives, but importantly in our businesses. But if you're anything like me, you might just be feeling a little bit overwhelmed with it all, not really knowing what you need to be focusing on, what you need to do, or who to trust to give you the right advice. Well, do not worry, my friend, because I have a very good friend. If you're a regular listener to this show, you'll know she's already been on this podcast. She's been speaking in our membership, and she has been helping us develop our AI tools in Success School. The one, the only, the incredible Rebecca Whitney. Now, from my experience, when you see most courses around AI, they just move really fast, they use really complicated jargon, and it's taught in a way that feels like you already have to be an expert just to know what they're talking about. Rebecca Whitney is the complete opposite. And that is why I highly recommend her AI to Scale Accelerator. She doesn't use the complicated jargon, it's easy to follow, it's broken down step by step, and it will help you understand how to utilize AI in your business in a way that enables you to be able to truly scale. Now, if you're already a member of our Success School membership, you may just be familiar with a very fun, amazing chatbot called Matbot, my very own AI chatbot that we have. Now, we have been getting incredible feedback from people who have been talking to Matbot. For those who are not familiar, it's basically taken all my information, everything I teach, all my masterclasses, all my podcasts, and also my yet to be released full book that I've written. It has all this knowledge, and people have access to chat with the AI version of me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you've got that idea at midnight or 1 a.m. and I'm in bed asleep, which hopefully I will be, you can still get access to the kind of guidance that I might give you. It's been really successful, basically. People rave about Matbot, and Rebecca is the brains behind creating Matbot. In her AI Accelerator, she will teach you exactly how she creates those kinds of things and how you could do the same for your business too. So basically, if you want to now finally grab hold of AI and truly understand how to use it, Rebecca and her team will teach you the systems that you truly need to know. And what is really lovely is, because you are a friend of ours and a listener of this show, she is giving you the first 30 days into this accelerator completely for free.
you know what you need to do. Head to the show notes below this episode right now, click that link, sign up, and start mastering AI today. Do you ever struggle with it though, being Marmite? Is there ever times where you think, I actually just want people to all like me? And
Yeah, for sure. And it's that whole people pleasing thing, isn't it?
is that within you? Are you a people pleaser?
Yeah, I am. I totally am.
I get that.
To my detriment.
So then how do you balance that innately being, I just want everyone to like and love me, but actually being okay with being Marmite? Because I think this is common for a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean, we say it easily enough, don't we? Like I've just said, I'm Marmite,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that, and I'm really sad when people don't like me.
Right. And that's the reality for a lot of us.
I think it's just that thing that we brainwash ourselves. Like, it's okay, Liz. It's okay. I can only ever be me.
Right.
Yeah? I
Right.
can't be anybody else. And I think, you know, when I reflect on my life at school, I was great at primary school. Then I had the illness. So then I'd gone from a really popular kid who, you know, to having a bandana and fat face because I'd had all the steroids and I had a furry face. And high school was hell for me because I was scared that it would come to lunchtime or break and I'd be like, oh my God, I've got no friends. Like, where do I stand? Like, what do I do? I would panic at that thought. And this has only come up recently when I've done some work with Kat and Nat on heart healing. But this has traumatized me. Like, being liked has been really important to me. But I have to now understand that you cannot be everybody's cup of tea. And that is okay. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person if they don't like you. It just means that you're not their person.
Right.
And we can't all be the same.
Amen.
Amen.
Liz, you are, I know I touched upon it earlier, but you are outstanding with events. Like, events is your thing and you're incredible at it, not just from a standpoint of what people are seeing front end, but it's that behind the scenes and how you treat people and how you make them feel so seen and special and they're clear on how everything's going to happen and it's amazing. I am so excited that you are going to be speaking at Business Mastery Live in Leeds, specifically on events, right? You're going to be giving us the strategies around how to make events profitable. We've touched upon it today about how events can be really hard and they can take a lot of work and you want to avoid a lot of the mistakes I think that a lot of people do make, because they can also be incredibly rewarding if you do it right. Can you give us anything? Obviously, you're going to be doing a full talk on it, but any tips for people like myself that are putting on events and currently looking at putting on our biggest event and it's tough. What are some of the tips you can share with us today?
I always have a framework of 4 different revenue streams when it comes to events, because I think to an untrained eye, the only thing you will focus on is tickets sales.
Yeah, we just got to get everybody to buy tickets.
That is a really vulnerable position to be in
if
you are just relying on ticket sales, because you know how the human nature of people now, you will get a surge at the beginning. You will have the valley of despair.
Horrendous.
Where you're waking up off. Well, I just wanted to cuddle you so many times during your journey with this, saying,
really?
You're in the valley of despair, but don't worry.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah, it's dead normal. It's human nature. Keep going, and then you'll have the rush at the end.
Right.
So it's knowing that if you're in the valley of despair, I still do it now. I'm like, nobody likes me. Why does nobody like me? It's not a personal thing.
Yeah, right,
know?
yeah.
It's just the way the market, how people buy.
Yeah.
So it's, I think that I'm going to call something out here. I think a lot of people have been talking about 2026 is the year of the event in person. Yeah. And it is. And it's great for you and me because that's what we do. Brilliant. We're on to a winner, right? And then you hear the voices of, people are paying to speak on a stage, and are they actually sharing that with people that and I'm like, whoa. Have you ever done an event? No. Right. Shall I tell you why we have people that pay to be on our stage? 2 reasons. Firstly, because that person who is paying that money to be on that stage knows that that is a captive audience, and it is one of the biggest, most successful marketing strategies that they can ever do.
Yeah.
And 2, it allows the event organizer stability, commercial viability to continue on this journey to put this event on. And at the forefront of everything that we do as event owners is that we are here building a captive audience to make impact, right? And we have the capacity, we are privileged that we can make such impact in that one room, okay? But it has to be commercially viable for us. Otherwise, we can't continue. So, the naysayers that call this out, I just urge you to look at this from a business perspective. We couldn't continue with this in-person strategy that builds so many businesses for so many people if we didn't use these sorts of strategies.
Large events have always had sponsorship.
Exactly.
Because it makes it work. And why do people sponsor? One of the biggest reasons is to get people looking at their brand and get an opportunity. There is no better opportunity for that person, that brand, that business sponsoring an event than to get them on the bloody stage where they've got the audience captive to be able to speak to them about what they do and showcase their power. It's one thing having an exhibitor stand and being in the room. That's great.
Yeah.
But the best way you can show what you do is get them on the stage.
Exactly
and that's all we're talking about here, right? It's just sponsorship.
Yeah. And I just think, like
and
you
you
said,
vet people as well. It's not like
Exactly.
anybody with money can get on the stage.
Exactly that, because at the end of the day, you've got a duty of care to put on a good show.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And if you didn't put on a good show, then you wouldn't sell any tickets, and then it's like you're in a vacuum of despair, and it doesn't work. But, you know, interestingly, Daniel Priestley has been a business crush of mine for many years.
You seem to be struggling to say the words anymore.
I was honest, as soon as I was next to him, I was next to him on your lineup. I'm like, Mom, look at this.
I've made it.
Anyway, I listened to him at Ideas Fest, and he said, I do two ways. I either pay to be on a stage or I get paid to be on a stage. And he said, I do both as a marketing strategy. He said, I don't mind paying to be on a stage because I have a little bit more control with what I can then deliver. And I just thought, listen, if it's good enough for our DP, then it's good enough for us, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, again, people that have those perceptions that it's, oh, you shouldn't have to do that, it's bad, they're just naive to business.
Yeah.
And it is just purely, this is one of the things I've said a few times on this show, is the real upside of starting a business today is with things like AI, with things like social media, the internet, you know, we think about the lockdown era, like all this stuff combined, these last 5-10 years, it's never been easier to start a business with no money.
Yeah.
You know, like you could literally start with zero and you could grow a social media account and you could build a brand and you could build an audience. That's brilliant. And there's a massive upside to that, which means as long as you've got determination, passion, ambition, you want to create impact, you can have a business.
Yeah.
The flip side, and the thing that I speak about, is I think we've bred entitled business owners.
Yeah.
Because from the dawn of time, nobody started a business prior to the last 5-10 years without understanding you need to invest.
Yeah.
You're going to need to invest in marketing.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about things like sponsorship and pay to play and being on stages that you pay to be, it's just a marketing investment. You don't have to pay into it, but it's a really good one if you pick the right event.
It's the best one. Yeah. And this is why I'm obsessed with events, because for me, I have grown, you know, different businesses by being in rooms and being on stages. Being in rooms and being on stages is, for me, you know, I might dabble a little bit in Facebook ads now and then, not massively. I have done it in the past. And, you know, I have with the car finance. We used to invest, you know, thousands a month in an ad. And then that was why I started building the community, because I was like, this is a bit rubbish. I am actually doing sales in rooms. So, yeah, it is. And this is what I try and teach to people, that look at your marketing budget for the year, okay? And look, right, strategically, where am I going to invest this? Yeah, print adverts, possibly not. You know, Facebook ads, probably not. Where I'm going to get, you know, that connection, that know, like, trust, speed it up is going to be in a room, whether that's talking, whether that's sat in the room, you know, that's what it's about.
And you're going to be in the room at Business Mastery Live, and I know you're going to give us that full framework. So basically, if you want to hear everything that Liz teaches on how you can do this, you need to be at the event. Get your bloody tickets.
Absolutely.
Just before we finish, though, some of the questions that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
So first one is, what is some of the best life advice you've received and why?
Life advice, not business advice.
Or it can be business.
You
Just
know-
good advice.
Life advice. Do you know what? Do what you're passionate about, okay? And do, you know, don't just, I think as kids, we just get told, you've got to do this, you've got to go to university, you've got to get a steady job. That's what I got told. And I thought that was life. You know, not many teachers come out of teaching. They stay there because you've got your pension, because you've got your holidays and this and that. So when I jumped out of that, made a massive, big leap of faith, I've never looked back. So, you know, don't feel like you have to run the hamster, you know, what do they call it? The hamster, I don't know. Wheel, that's the one. Because you don't.
You don't.
You've got to do what you're passionate about.
And sometimes that's scary and it goes against the grain.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, I think the way I look at it is people think, oh, it's risky starting a business. And it's like, for me, it's risky to my mental health, to my well-being, to my fulfillment, doing something that's right for other people if it's not right for me.
Exactly that, because you can only keep going on something that's somebody else's dream or making somebody else happy for so long. You have to, first and foremost, be the happiest version that you can be, so that you can, that little ripples can come from the people that you then impact.
Nice. All right, flip side.
Yeah.
What's some of the worst advice? This could be something that was like well-meaning, but in reality, you've gone through experience to learn that was terrible advice.
The worst advice is not following your dreams, and not you know, and you've just got to be happy with the person that you are first and foremost. And once you're happy, then you can make other people happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question. I think quite often when we listen to podcasts, we see these guest experts that come on shows like this. We put them on a pedestal. We think they've got all their shit together. I mean, it's very rare people get to this point listening to my show and they don't realise, wow, this person's been through a lot and it's not been plain sailing. And you're definitely no exception to that rule. But if you are happy to share, the question is, what is something that you're finding really challenging right now? And how are you navigating it? How are you working through it?
Just now, in the immediate, what's been going on, these last 2 weeks have been hell with supporting Phil. Phil's dad died on Saturday, but the hardest thing was the decline of him for the past 2 weeks, in that we had to tell him that it's the end of the road. And I will never forget his face, how he was shaking, he was crying, and I just held his hand and I stroked it, and he would say, I just need to speak to Phil. So then I would go, and then he would say, I just need to speak to you. And this man said his last things like, please look after Phil. And I'd be like, oh my God, till my last breath, I will look after him, you know. So that was tough. But then holding up the family, because Phil's all right to be sad and grieve because it's his dad, but one of us had to step up as, let's hold this together, let's support everybody, let's be a big smile for everybody. And then in the meantime, my venue, you know, the venue of my next International Women's Day texted me to say they have gone into administration. It was like, shit, you know, these last 2 weeks has just been a, and I'm like, anything else right now, anything else. But what do? We just remember that it doesn't kill me. It's, you know, I could have died, and we will just pick ourselves up and do the very best that we can in whatever card we are dealt. And that's why we are who we are, you know, and that's why some of us fall by the wayside in business and some of us keep freaking going, because we know that every day is not going to be rainbows and unicorns. It's not. But that resilience and that tenacity to just keep going, we will keep showing up. I was trying to think the reason why, because that's who we are and that's what we do.
Well, what's the alternative? You know, it's like your husband needs you, your family needs you, your business needs you, your clients need you.
Exactly.
Like, what's the alternative? And I think one thing I would say to caveat that is you also have to put yourself first, right?
Yeah.
And you have to look after yourself. And there's times where you have to say, do you know what? I've been covering a lot here. I've been carrying a lot of pressure. Now it's time for me. Mm-hmm. But there's certain times in life where we don't have that luxury.
No.
And we do have to show up for others, right?
We do, yeah. And going back to that whole thing of just trying to turn a negative into a positive, and going back to all those things that we taught ourselves in the beginning of this journey of, you know, how we see things through different lenses. And yeah, that's probably the reason how we keep going, because we've brainwashed ourselves into being that sort of mindset, that growth mindset, that positive energy, even when the chips are down.
Liz, I've got huge respect for you. I think you're an absolutely incredible fighter. You're a genuine warrior, and you're a genuine inspiration. That I'm sure there'll be loads of people listening to this that are just like, wow, like if Liz can do that, I can certainly do, you know, handle what I'm going through right now. Mm-hmm. So I want to just like thank you for sharing like so honestly and so vulnerably, especially, and I know we spoke before we started recording, but what you've just covered there about what you're going through right now, and still be here and still be giving and showing up. I think there's one thing to talk the talk, but you're literally walking it today by displaying it. So I want to thank you for that. If people are hearing about you for the first time and they're like, wow, I need to get in Liz's world, can you just tell us, where do we follow you? How do we connect with you?
Probably the biggest one is Instagram, so at Flamingo Business or at Flamingo Car Finance. Come and find me over there, and I would love to connect with as many people that have found any sort of inspiration or impact from this.
And please do go connect with Liz. And I think if your goal this year is to build your brand, get more known, build more relationships, get better at networking, get to more events, any of that stuff, like Liz is your person. Contact her, get in touch. Liz, thank you. Final question before we end is, what is your definition of success?
The wider people, that my loved ones are happy. I think that is it. Whatever I do, it's all about making sure that it's a whole happiness. It's not just me. What I can create can then ripple effect onto those people that are in my life that I love.
Amazing, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you.